Hello. Let us now study about the endodermal or pharyngeal pouches. You know that there are 5 pouches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the fifth one is rudimentary. Is it clear? So, the ventral aspect of these endodermal pouches take part or contributes to the development of the tongue, and the dorsal part of each pouch except the first divides into dorsal wing and ventral wing. Now let us know the derivatives of all these pouches. So this first pouch, the dorsal wing of the first pouch joins with the dorsal wing of second pouch like this. This is the one. Dorsal wing of first pouch joins with the dorsal wing of second pouch to form what? Tubo-tympanic recess. Similarly here, the dorsal wing on this side, dorsal wing of first pouch joining with the dorsal wing of second pouch to form tubo-tympanic recess, which is narrow medially and which is wider laterally. This medial part of this tubo-tympanic recess, this tube, gives rise to auditory tube. The medial part of the tubo-tympanic recess, the narrow part gives rise to auditory tube, and the lateral wider part gives rise to tympanic cavity, which includes mucus lining of tympanic cavity, mucus layer of tympanic membrane, mastoid antrum and mastoid air cells. I repeat, this tubo-tympanic recess, which is formed by the fusion of the dorsal part of the first and second pouch, which is narrow medially and wider laterally, gives rise to auditory tube from the medial part and the tympanic cavity from the lateral part. The derivatives under the tympanic cavity are the mucus lining of the tympanic cavity, the mucus layer of tympanic membrane, the mastoid antrum and the mastoid air cells. So here the tympanic membrane development is understood. This is a first cleft which is giving rise to the cuticular layer of tympanic membrane. That is from the ectoderm. The fibrous layer, the middle layer of the tympanic membrane, which is developed from the mesoderm of first arch, and the inner layer, that is the mucus layer, which is derived from the first endodermal pouch. So the tympanic membrane, 3 layers developed from 3 different sources: outer layer ectoderm, middle layer mesoderm, inner layer through endoderm. Now coming to the second pouch, the dorsal aspect of the second pouch joins with the first pouch to form tubo-tympanic recess, which is discussed. The ventral aspect of the second pouch gives rise to tiny solid bud of cells, with subsequent destruction of the center portion of the cells, it eventually gives rise to the formation of the tonsil and its tonsillar crypts. So the second pouch gives rise to palatine tonsil. The ventral aspect of it, from it gives rise to intratonsillar cleft. Coming to the third pouch, the dorsal portion of the third pouch, the dorsal wing of the third pouch here gives rise to inferior parathyroid, that is 3, inferior parathyroid, and the ventral portion gives rise to the thymus. Ventral portion gives rise to the thymus. This thymus of either sides gets fused and they are connected with the aortic sac. So with the descent of the heart and the aortic sac downwards, this thymus also descends downwards. While doing that, it drags the inferior parathyroid along with it, and the descent will happen in such a way that when it comes to the lower pole of the dorsal aspect of the thyroid gland, the inferior parathyroid gland settles. Subsequently, it loses its connection with the thymus and the thymus further descends downwards. Okay, so the third pharyngeal pouch, dorsal aspect will give rise to inferior parathyroid and the ventral aspect will give rise to the thymus. Coming to the fourth pouch, mind you, all the second, third, fourth pouches, the ventral aspect of the pouch is taking part in the contribution of the development of the tongue. I am talking about the dorsal aspect, and that dorsal aspect is divided into ventral wing and dorsal wing. So here the dorsal wing of the fourth pouch gives rise to superior parathyroid. So developmentally, initially superior parathyroid is downwards, inferior parathyroid is upwards, but that inferior parathyroid descends downwards along with the thymus. Once it reaches below the superior parathyroid, it comes and gets settled below the superior parathyroid. Then the ventral aspect of this fourth pouch, it gives rise to a complex called caudal pharyngeal complex. So this completely is that complex, the fourth pouch, the ventral wing of it. The dorsal wing is superior parathyroid, the ventral wing is giving rise to caudal pharyngeal complex, which consists of three elements: the thymic element, the lateral thyroid rudiment, and ultimobranchial body. This thymic element of the ventral aspect of the fourth pouch adds some components to the descending thymus. Once the thymus is descending, when it comes to that region, it adds some components to the outer aspect of the thymus and takes part in the contribution of the development of the thymus. Second one, lateral thyroid rudiment. This, when the thyroglossal duct descends till here, when it starts proliferating, it fuses with this thyroid element, that is this thyroid element of the fourth pouch, fuses with the developing thyroid and prevents the arrest of the growth of the thyroglossal duct further downwards and prevents the ectopic thyroid. That means thyroid descending downwards into the thorax is prevented by this lateral thyroid rudiment. And the last one is ultimobranchial body, which gives rise to the parafollicular cells or the C cells of the thyroid gland. So this is all about the endodermal pouches. To sum up, just to remember the derivatives: dorsal aspect of the first pouch, dorsal wing of the second pouch joins with each other to form tubotympanic recess, which gives rise to auditory tube and the components of the tympanic cavity. Second pouch gives rise to tonsil and intratonsillar cleft. Third pouch, dorsal aspect to inferior parathyroid, ventral aspect to thymus. Fourth pouch, dorsal aspect gives rise to superior parathyroid, ventral aspect gives rise to caudal pharyngeal complex. This fourth pouch together with the rudimentary fifth pouch gives rise to this caudal pharyngeal complex, which consists of thymic element, thyroid element and ultimobranchial body. So this is all about the endodermal or pharyngeal pouches. Thank you.